Good evening. I'm going to call to attention our regular school board meeting for Monday, July 25th. If you'd please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Board and Superintendent, do you have any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
We have a revised HR personnel list. It was added to board docs today. That's item 9.01 and a copy provided to you. Also, there's an emergency item if the chair deems appropriate for the purchase of a Centegix Crisis Alert Emergency Notification System that will be heard before our discussion agenda.
I deem it appropriate. Thank you. Anything else, Board?
Did all the situation get worked out on 8.07?
I'll have to refer to Mr. Carr or Mr. Ward on that one.
Mr. Carr, 8.07? This is about the grass. Is it all good? No, not yet. No, then we need to pull that.
Okay. So we're pulling 8.07 for no action today. Okay. Anything additional? Okay, great. So we are on approval of minutes. Superintendent.
Recommend approval of the minutes from the regular school board meeting July 11th, 2022, and the school board workshop July 11th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We have no representation this evening, so we are on to public input. I have one card for Banks Helfrich.
Banks Helfrich, 9100 Sam's Lake Road, Claremont, Florida, 34715. Superintendent, council, distinguished guests, good evening. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy birthday. This is July 4th. We turned 246 years old. And if there's a history teacher out there, please pull me aside if I make any of these facts wrong. 246 years where we have put together a Declaration of Independence, where we have created a constitution and added amendments where women can vote now, and also people that are not white can vote. 246 years of a social experiment where we open our country to other peoples from around the world. A melting pot, a group of people that fuse together food and culture and government also. 246 years of, a civil war, not very civil, however, I had to look that word up, and it's actually infighting. 246 years of an independence war. We found our independence. And now we're to the point of 246 years, and we still have the same name. Our first name has not changed. We have stuck with it throughout these 246 years, and that is United. Yet are we. On a side note, I am a farmer here in Lake County, and on July 31st, I will be opening my farm to the community to come and share. I will teach you how to grow foods. I will give you foods to grow, and it is open to the public. It's the 31st of July, 9 a.m., and the clerk has some of my information, so if you want that. My name is Banks. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak.
Thank you, sir, very much. All right, Attorney's reports. Mr. Johnson.
I don't have anything.
Okay, so we are on unfinished business.
May I?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Under unfinished business, note for the record that Mr. Brandenburg has filed a 701 Form 8B Memorandum of Voting Conflict. There were 4 items that were handled at the July 11th, 2022 regular school board meeting. 8.01 agreement between the Lake County Sheriff's Office for resource deputies. 8.02, agreement with the Lake County Sheriff's Office and the town of Astatula for resource deputies. Item 8.04, an agreement with the Lake County Sheriff's Office for court liaison. 8.05, an agreement with the Lake County Sheriff's Office for school crossing grounds. And 8.07, a contract with for food service to Mineola Charter Schools, Inc. Mr. Brandenburg has filed this Form 80B on the grounds that the passage of these particular items and his voting on them may inure to the benefit of his employer, Brown & Brown Insurance. That's all, Madam Chairman.
Okay. We don't need to vote on it. You're just putting it on the agenda. Is that correct?
Pardon me?
It's just for information purposes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. New business consent agenda. Superintendent?
I recommend approval of consent agenda items 8.01 to 8.06 and 9.01 to 1012.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Okay, so we are on our discussion items, which happen to be policy, public hearings. So, Mr. Johnson, I believe we can start at 11.01.
Yes, ma'am. The item before the board is 11.01, a public hearing for the final approval of policies, Section 2120, School Board Improvement, Section 2215, Program of Instruction, Section 2417, Comprehensive Health Education, Section 5410.01, Promotion, Acceleration, Placement, and Retention, Section 5500, Student Conduct, Section 5412, Smoking and Tobacco Nicotine-Free Environment, 5630.01, Seclusion and Restraint of Students with Disabilities, 5724, Preparation for Voter Registration, 8800, Religious Patriotic Ceremonies and Observances. And I think that covers all of 11.01, Madam Chairman. I believe it appropriate for the, before we have the public hearing on that, whether any member of the board wants to pull any of that group, since it's a large group, for separate consideration.
Board?
Okay, then with that, the items before the board are open to public hearing. If there's anyone that wishes to discuss any of the items under Section 11.01, please come forward to the podium at this time. Madam Chairman, I don't see anyone coming forward and believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Recommend final approval of the policies listed by Mr. Johnson.
Board?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Okay, now it's our public hearing for the final approval of the 2022-23 Code of Conduct.
Yes, ma'am. Item 11.02 is a public hearing for final approval of the 2022-2023 Code of Student Conduct and Policy Guide. If there's anyone here that wishes to speak to this particular matter, please come forward to the podium at this time. Madam Chairman, I don't see anyone coming forward and believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Superintendent?
Recommend final approval of the 22-23 Code of Student Conduct and Policy Guide.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 11.03, our public hearing on the final approval of our 22-23 Student Progression Plan.
Yes, ma'am. 11.03 is the board's public hearing for the final approval of 2022-2023 Student Progression Plan. If there's anyone here this evening that wishes to speak to this particular policy, please come forward to the podium at this time. Madam Chairman, I don't see anyone coming forward and believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Superintendent?
Recommend final approval of the 22-23 Student Progression Plan.
Board?
So
Moved. Second.
All right, any discussion?
I did have a question. I know it's been a while since we've done the first reading on this one. that I think I kind of vaguely recall you all were working on some sort of best practices guide for grading and online program usage, and I was just wondering if you have any sort of updates on how that's going or when that'll be available or.
So the draft is being completed now, and I've been working with Ms. Smith. We're going to let that be one of our first teacher advisory committee meetings, and so I'm working with her right now. We have a draft of that as well, and we're getting ready to push that out, and that will be one of the first tasks that we undertake. So need to probably get the school year started, so we're working on the dates to get that scheduled.
Excellent, thanks.
I appreciate that. That's great. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right, Superintendent Report.
I had 3 letters of condolence. Rhonda Boykin, she's the assistant principal at Lake Minneola High School, lost her mother, Sarah Lou Boykin. Randy Belton, who's a service manager in transportation, lost his father, Robert Belton. And to the family of Sherry Stewart, the retired food service assistant from Pine Ridge Elementary School. So condolences to those family. I also want to congratulate Ms. Challenger. She became a first-time grandmother yesterday. So.
Whoop, whoop.
She has pictures if anyone's interested. She does. And also just want to mention to you that tomorrow we'll be welcoming about 280 brand new teachers at our launch into Lake. So I'm looking very forward to seeing them in the morning and just feeling that energy as we head into a new school year, realizing that the summer is quickly coming to a close and we're about ready to start again. So that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Mathias?
Just very quickly, I'm a little casual tonight because for the last 8 hours, I was at the sheriff's training range, and I see other members here. You cannot be more proud, and I know Chairman Luke and Mr. Dodd, you were the 3, and me, were 3 votes that put the program in place. And you would be proud of the commitment of these administrators, both public and charter. You'd be proud of the safe school officers that we've hired, and that the training is rigorous. It is very intense. Tomorrow, we're doing active shooters at Tavares High School. And the instructors for the Sheriff's Department have been over the top amazing. Today, we had from the Florida Department of Education of Safe Schools, the Deputy Director, Brooke Rumenick, and Mrs. Melissa Palmer Baker. She's the Coach Aaron Fry's Guardian Program Grant Administrator that came to Lake County to see how we're doing. And she was over the top impressed. Am I right, Mr. Palmer? Okay, everybody's shaking their heads to talk to her? Yeah, yeah. So we can be very proud. As a sidebar, the sheriff was telling me he was at the sheriff's conference, which has nothing to do with this, although his men and their training was over the top amazing. They were on their game today. But at the sheriff's conference, he said that with pride, that Lake County was so far ahead of other counties in the way we've been proactive on our mental health component, the way we've implemented the Guardian program, that we should all be proud. But I'm especially proud and humbled by our administrators who, regardless if they were armed or not, would go into fire to protect their kids. And that's what this was about today. They were serious. It was, it's amazing. So I'm very proud to be part of it.
We appreciate you partaking too and representing the board there, Mr. Mathias. So
Sure.
it sounds like great work. Thank you. Mr. Brandyberg?
One quick comment. Saturday, July 16th, a couple weeks back, we held our first of what I hope to be annual Lhs Campus Cleanup. So just want to give a special shout out to Principal Mike Randolph, Athletic Director Spencer High, our high school booster club, and also Mike Matheny at Church of the Lakes. We had about 75 people out there, got a lot accomplished. Mike likes to call them a paint up in addition to a cleanup. So we made some improvements to campus and just trying to get the pride back there for the start of the school year. So special shout out to the community for coming out and supporting Leesburg High School. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Mrs. Cunningham?
I don't have anything.
Well, it's just so hard to believe that the next time we'll be together. School have already resumed and be back in session. So, yeah, here's the annual welcome back sort of message, I suppose, for everybody. And I know that there's so many teachers looking forward to coming back into the classroom who have missed their kids, and hopefully most of those kids have missed their teachers. And you know, I know in my household we've got kind of divided opinions on when it's back to school shopping time as to how excited you get. So you know, just a great welcome back to everybody. And just I think one item we have. I don't know if it's on your list of items. the 15th, are we doing a special meeting that day, for sure?
August 15th.
Yes, we are, and I don't know if you've advertised that one yet. Okay, yeah, we met today to work on the agenda for that, so we do have a couple of items for that, unless you're not available. I already know one is not available that day, but we're open. We need to have one sometime shortly after the start of the school, mainly because of the instructional material item that needs to be on there. We didn't want to delay that one.
Are you looking for it to be a special meeting
Yes, it will be a special meeting
during the day?
at our regular 9:30 time. That's a Monday morning, so if we need to change that, we can certainly adjust.
What's the date?
Monday, the 15th.
I'll be out of town. My daughter's on a national team and they're playing that week. And, okay, I'll be in Oklahoma.
Oh, that's September. Oh, August, okay.
August 15th.
August 15th. I'll be back that night. When are you coming back?
I don't get back until the 21st.
Okay. Maybe we'll look at some dates.
Yeah, all right, so let us.
If you're going to do it at the district, it's
Ms. Luke.
possible maybe I could zoom in? I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. We'll talk
Can I
about
get
it.
back to you on the date? I'll get with Ms. Luke, we'll figure out a better time.
Okay, all right, sure.
Thank you for reminding us of that.
Yes, I just thought, that, I know those books are already going to be delayed, so
Yeah,
I'd love to approve them as soon as we can. But I'm flexible if the rest of the board is, and it doesn't have to be that Monday. Could be even sooner, right?
If it's sooner, I'll be here.
Because we just couldn't have that meeting the same day as the public hearing, right?
that's correct.
So, okay,
We'll work on that.
all right,
Get you another date.
thanks.
Sounds good. One more reminder, we had an emergency item that I just blew right by with the consent agenda. So if we could come back to the emergency item, that's what I was kind of thinking in my head that it was consent as well, but it doesn't get added to consent. It's for separate consideration. So if we could just revisit that really quickly before we added it to the agenda and then did not vote on it, that would be fantastic. So Superintendent, did you want to?
Yeah, and as you know, this item was workshopped recently, and so I know Mr. Johnson's been working with our staff and Centegix on the preparation of this. I know he has a comment to make, but I am recommending that the board approve the purchase of the Centegix Crisis Alert System. Mr. Johnson?
Luke needs to first be given the reason.
So move.
for the emergency item and then make a decision on whether it is or not.
Okay.
The reason why it's an emergency item is because as soon as we can get this approved, the sooner we can get this in our schools, and we know that safety and security is at the utmost importance, as it always is, and we believe this system would be instrumental in helping our staff and students to be safe.
I'm happy to add it as an emergency item. So, Mr. Johnson, did you want to give some advising on that?
Yes, ma'am. I just did want to point out one thing. We went through the language. The safety and security staff and I have spoken to the providers of this equipment and gone through the contract with them. And I feel an obligation to just let you know that the way the contract is written, they made some changes on some smaller things to make sure that we didn't have a problem with it. But they do have in their contract essentially the school board indemnifying this company for any problems that arise. They have no warranties. They don't warrant that it is good for the purpose for which it was built. They have a limitation on any damages, and they essentially the only thing that they're indemnifying us for is if we're participating in something that's a violation of their patents or anything of that nature. So it's not the only contract that we waive that limitation of liability and go forward with it. We do that actually, quite frankly, in a lot of software programs. But this one, is involving more than just software, so I thought it appropriate for me just to let you know that that is an issue and that it will be an issue going forward, but there's nothing stopping you from passing it if that's what you want to do.
Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, it was my understanding that they were going to replace any of the devices or anything that went bad during the 4-year period. Is that not accurate now? It is accurate. It is accurate. Okay, I'm good. So they apparently are warranted.
Yeah, it's the liability for what happens if that equipment doesn't work. That's the issue in my mind.
But from my seat, we heard enough safeguards that they're pinging the system, that they're identifying devices that aren't operational.
And I think that's their
again, correct.
position too.
Is that correct? Okay. Okay, thank you.
So Superintendent, I'll get a recommendation and we'll see if we can get a motion in a second. And then if there's any further discussion among the board on that item, we can do that. So Superintendent?
I recommend that the board approve the purchase of the Centegix Crisis Alert System.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions in regards to that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. My board member comments were very similar to what we've heard already, that I can't believe summer's over, and I'm sure you mentioned that teachers are excited to see the students, and the students are probably excited to see their teachers, maybe not go back to school, but I know the parents are happy. So,
Yes.
meeting adjourned.
That's right.